Have you ever tapped your card at the local pub or drive-thru, handed over $28 for a mid-tier burger with a handful of lukewarm chips, and wondered if you were quietly losing your mind? You were told it was inflation, local freight, or global supply chain hiccups, whatever lazy excuse was trending on the ASX that quarter. Nobody told you what actually happened next. Some of these fast food and casual dining chains bled money, got caught with their pants down, and then clawed their way back. Every single comeback worked in the exact same way. They reversed their corporate greed, slapped a fresh marketing spin on it, and called it a brand new value strategy. By the time you finish this video, you will know which casual dining giant faces a creditor lawsuit over an allegedly engineered seafood scam, which coffee juggernaut racked up over 500,000 labor violations while handing its new top executive a lottery-sized payday, and which classic fast food joint had its original founders storm a bankruptcy sale just to rescue their recipe from cheap private equity substitutes. You will find out how Wall Street analysts using kitchen scales wiped out market hype, and we will crack open the legal filings, earnings calls, and ACCC actions that prove you were never imagining the drop in quality. The absolute worst setup on this list sits right near the end, where an iconic chain treats its own store owners like human cash machines. Before we name a brand, let's establish how this game works on paper. When you step into a commercial restaurant, your meal cost breaks down into three neat thirds. 1/3 for raw ingredients, 1/3 for labor and overheads, and 1/3 for gross profit margin. When a food corporation wants to boost dividend yields without driving away foot traffic, raising menu prices outright is considered dangerous. Instead, they trigger a process known as ingredient engineering. Think of it like buying a German sedan, except every 6 months the manufacturer secretly swaps out steel components for recycled plastic while keeping the sticker price identical. In the food world, this means replacing real butter with cheap vegetable oils or palm-based margarine. It means injecting chicken breasts with saline solutions and sodium phosphates so meat retains water weight on the scale. It means thickening sauces with modified maize starch and xanthan gum rather than cooking down real stock. The customer experiences a subtle disappointment. The steak feels rubbery under the knife, the sauce leaves an oily film on the roof of your mouth, and the meal fails to satisfy. Because the change happened incrementally, most people blame their own taste buds rather than corporate cost-cutting. The second lever corporations pull is operational streamlining. To eliminate labor hours, kitchens stop preparing food fresh on site. Fresh vegetables are replaced with pre-chopped, vacuum-sealed bags treated with preservatives to prevent browning. Signature sauces that used to simmer for hours arrive in thick plastic bladders manufactured in central industrial parks, ready to be heated in microwave steam bags or water baths. When you cut kitchen staff to bare bones levels, consistency vanishes. A prep line designed for 4 workers is suddenly operated by 2 overworked teenagers trying to hit drive-thru timer targets. Portions fluctuate, cook times get rushed, and the final dish looks nothing like the photo on the glowing menu board. This brings us straight to the cold numbers these corporate giants tried to bury. Let quotes dive into the Hall of Shame. We start with a steakhouse chain that recently published the literal invoice of its corporate neglect. Worst number 10, Outback Steakhouse Australia. Owned by Bloomin' Brands, Outback built its Aussie image on big portions and casual suburban indulgence. But executive earnings calls revealed a staggering confession: bloated menus, erratic service, and a severe decline in raw steak quality. Bloomin' Brands unveiled a global turnaround budget topping $50 million, with dedicated millions set aside specifically for steak excellence improvements. Think about that. A premium steakhouse had to budget millions just to make its steak palatable again. You felt it every time you paid $60 for a dry, chewy sirloin at their West Point or Campbelltown venues. While local rivals like the Meat and Wine Company kept serving premium grain-fed beef, Outback cut corners on aging and butchering. They closed dozens of underperforming sites globally to fund the fix. They took your money for years, delivered mediocre cuts, and only spent money on kitchen quality when diners walked away. The next chain waited for consumer watchdogs to put its food on a digital scale. Worst number 9, Guzman y Gomez. GYG built an empire across Australian food courts, Woolworth shopping centres, and drive-thrus on the promise of fast, fresh, authentic Mexican food. But recent consumer investigations and viral weight checks across Sydney and Melbourne stores exposed a shocker. Up to a 40% weight variance between identical burritos ordered at the exact same price. Independent choice reviews and customer field tests highlighted shrinking protein portions, extra rice filler, and skimpy guac dollops. When challenged, management blamed kitchen operational flow rather than deliberate cost-cutting. Yet executive compensation hit record highs while a standard burrito bowl climbed past $15. To cover rising avocado and beef costs without fixing portion consistency, GYG leaned into app promotions and menu gimmicks. You paid top dollar for fresh food, only to end up with a foil-wrapped cylinder of 90% brown rice and 3 tiny cubes of grilled chicken. If shorting a burrito feels petty, wait until you hear how the next retail dining giant treated gift vouchers. Worst number 8, Pancake Parlour. Once a beloved late-night dessert staple across Victoria, Pancake Parlour ran into severe operational distress, quietly shutting locations while facing intense cost pressures. When corporate entities restructure or file for administration, thousands of consumers holding prepaid gift vouchers find themselves standing dead last in line behind big banks and landlords. Consumer regulatory bodies like the ACCC have repeatedly warned about unredeemed gift cards getting swallowed during corporate collapses. Families who saved gift vouchers for birthday treats were left holding worthless plastic while corporate administrators carved up assets. The company stripped back late-hour trading, pushed pancake stack prices above $25, and squeezed portion sizes on butter and maple syrup. You paid premium prices for whipped butter and sweet batter, only to watch the brand shrink into a shadow of its former self. From dessert icons to coastal seafood franchises, our next stop shows how private equity firms extract every cent before leaving founders to pick up the pieces. Worst number 7, Kickin' In. The Cajun-style seafood boil chain expanded aggressively across Australia, filling social media with viral videos of shellfish dumped onto paper-lined tables. But as private investment partners pushed for rapid store openings, supplier standards took a massive hit. Investigative food industry reports showed that high-grade local Australian king prawns and Moreton Bay bugs were increasingly swapped out for cheaper, imported frozen Vaname shrimp and mass-produced sauce bases loaded with vegetable oils instead of real butter. When corporate margins fell, store-level staff were cut, leading to long wait times and cold seafood. The original founders had to step in and restructure operations to rescue the brand image, publicly committing to restoring authentic recipes and sauce formulas. If you ever wondered why your $60 seafood bag suddenly tasted like salty margarine and rubbery frozen prawns, now you know the corporate extraction playbook that caused it. If you are already itching to check your own fridge or pantry, hit subscribe right now because the corporate squeeze only gets rougher from here. Next up, a traditional country-style dining staple that tried to erase its own heritage to chase a younger demographic. Worst number 6, the Pancake Manor and regional family bistros. Profit margins crashed across traditional heritage dining venues as management spent millions on sleek, sterile redesigns, stripping out rustic timber interiors in favor of minimalist, fast casual layouts. Customer foot traffic plunged over 10% in a single year as loyal regulars rejected the soulless aesthetic. Executives were forced out by angry board members after financial reports showed net profits falling off a cliff. The turnaround only began when management abandoned their modernizing experiments, put classic value breakfast platters back on the physical menu, and reinstated traditional recipes. They wasted millions trying to appeal to customers who never cared about them, only to realize their entire business depended on the classic comfort food they tried to throw away. The next company is posting record profits, but the labor receipts behind the hype tell a dark story. Worst number 5, Starbucks Australia. Operating locally under Withers Group licensing, Starbucks has seen record sales across Melbourne and Sydney drive-thrus, driven by viral $20 iced frappes and app loyalty programs. But behind the glossy green logos sits a grim labor record. The Fair Work Ombudsman and retail employee unions have repeatedly called out fast food and coffee giants for systemic roster manipulation, underpaying young casual workers, and cutting shift hours to avoid paying full penalty rates on weekends. Staff faced brutal rush-hour targets with skeletal floor coverage. While corporate headquarters celebrated record quarterly revenue, local baristas walked out over unsafe working conditions and wage disputes. You wait 20 minutes in a drive-thru for an $8 sugary coffee, while the person making it struggles to pay rent under casualized contract conditions. It gets worse when corporate headquarters turns its own franchise owners into personal cash registers. Worst number 4, Subway Australia. Michael's story isn't unique. A former sandwich artist who bought into the dream, eventually operating multiple stores across Queensland, only to end up in voluntary administration. Subway lost hundreds of footprint locations across Australia over recent years, dropping from peak shopping strip dominance to dark storefronts. Rourke Capital acquired Subway globally in a multi-billion-dollar debt-fueled deal, leaving local franchisees to pay 12.5% off the top in royalties and advertising levies. Corporate headquarters forced small mom-and-pop franchisees to spend over $100,000 per store on mandatory fresh-forward refurbishments under threat of agreement termination. Franchise association representatives publicly accused corporate of treating owners like human ATMs. To boost foot traffic, corporate pushed discounted footlong promotions, but forced individual store owners to absorb the full financial loss on every free sandwich. When you notice the sliced ham getting thinner and the cheese slices split in half, it wasn't the store owner getting rich, it was a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm squeezing them dry. After that level of franchise exploitation, our next stop is a family pub chain that tried to hide price hikes behind fancy digital QR codes. Worst number 3, Rashay's. The casual dining staple grew rapidly across New South Wales and the ACT, but ran straight into a wall of customer backlash as meal prices soared. A standard chicken schnitzel and chips pushed past $30, while portion sizes quietly shrunk. Customer reviews flooded social platforms, showing tiny poultry cuts and lukewarm frozen chips compared to the glossy promotional photos. As sales slumped for multiple consecutive quarters, the chief executive had to step in and overhaul the menu strategy. The fix? A sudden, aggressive return to $10 lunch specials and discounted family deals. The turnaround worked instantly, filling booths again within 90 days. But think about the logic. If they could afford to sell a quality lunch meal for $15 today, why were they charging you $32 for the exact same plate 6 months ago? The inflation excuse was a total lie. It was a live experiment to see how much you would tolerate before walking away. Now watch the world's largest fast food giant pull the exact same maneuver after a 5-year assault on your wallet. Worst number 2, McDonald's Australia. Macca's proved its own customers right and printed the confession on the Macca's app. We all remember the outrage over $20 Big Mac EVMs and $4 hash browns at suburban drive-thrus. Australian McDonald's menu prices jumped roughly 35 to 40% over 5 years, vastly outstripping CPI inflation figures reported by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. When customer foot traffic plunged, Macca's corporate launched value campaigns, reintroducing loose change menu items, $5 meal deals, and heavy app discounts. Same-store sales immediately surged back into positive territory. McDonald's executives admitted to financial analysts that low-income consumers were cutting back on dining out. But if dropping prices restored profitability overnight, the previous price hikes were never about raw egg shortages or freight supply chains. They were simply testing the absolute upper limit of consumer tolerance. Which brings us to number 1, the chain where corporate extraction went from menu engineering straight into court documents. Worst number 1, Red Lobster and corporate seafood suppliers. The iconic casual seafood brand collapsed into administration after suffering hundreds of millions in losses. Court filings in major insolvency proceedings exposed a shocking conflict of interest. Major foreign seafood conglomerates acquired controlling stakes in the restaurant chain and installed their own executives into key management roles. According to creditor lawsuits, these appointed executives deliberately forced the restaurant chain into buying overpriced imported frozen shrimp exclusively from their parent supplier companies, while cutting off cheaper local competitors. The famous Endless Shrimp promotion was priced at $20, a deal so unviable it triggered a catastrophic $30 million operational cash burn in 6 months. The supplier made hundreds of millions selling raw seafood to the restaurants, while the restaurants themselves were driven straight into bankruptcy, shutting hundreds of doors and firing thousands of workers. It was an engineered corporate siphon. Milk the restaurant chain dry, profit off the supply contract, and leave local staff and creditors holding the empty shell. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. We have spent plenty of time dissecting the corporate shortcuts, fake inflation excuses, and margarined wing sources of the fast food world. Now let's talk about the operators across Australia who are actually doing things right. These are the brands where your dollar buys real ingredients, transparent supply chains, and actual culinary effort instead of private equity extraction tricks. We start with the most accessible, bulletproof option for anyone looking for a quick, high-quality meal on the go: Grilled. Launched in Melbourne back in 2004, Grilled built its entire reputation on a direct refusal to follow the fast food race to the bottom. While mega chains were busy secretly injecting water into poultry and swapping real dairy for hydrogenated oils, Grilled doubled down on local sourcing. They use 100% grass-fed Australian beef and lamb, free-range chicken, and buns baked fresh daily without artificial preservatives or high-fructose corn syrup. A choice review highlighted Grilled for its clear nutritional disclosure and lack of synthetic fillers. When you bite into a Simply Grilled or a Garden City crispy chicken burger, you taste real grilled char, crisp local produce, and balanced sauces that don't leave an oily chemical film in your mouth. Is it slightly more expensive than a bargain bin drive-thru meal? Yes, a standard burger sits around $14 to $16. But when you break down the price per gram of actual real protein versus processed soy filler, you are paying for real food from Australian farmers, not corporate debt servicing. It is the gold standard for everyday casual dining. Next up, for anyone who loves Mexican fast casual but is sick of paying $15 for a foil pouch of 90% seasoned rice, there is Fishbowl. Starting as a single Bondi shop in 2016, Fishbowl has expanded across Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane with an uncompromising focus on raw freshness and sustainable Australian produce. Their business model flips the traditional fast food setup on its head. Instead of hiding low-grade meat under heavy melted cheeses and pre-made pastes, every bowl is built around clean, sashimi-grade Tasmanian salmon, yellowfin tuna, line-caught target species, and crisp, daily delivered vegetables. Independent food industry reviews consistently praise Fishbowl for its zero-waste prep ethos and complete absence of artificial flavor enhancers or hidden trans fats. The sensory difference is immediate. You get vibrant color, distinct texture contrast, clean crunch from fresh edamame and cabbage, and rich umami from house-made tamari and sesame dressings. Sitting at around $18 to $22 a bowl, it is undeniably a premium lunch option. But you pay directly for wild-caught seafood and farm-fresh greens, making it worth every cent if you want nutrient-dense food that keeps you full without a post-lunch sugar crash. If you are looking for an honest sit-down pub steak or a family weekend dinner that doesn't feel like a predatory finance scheme, look no further than your local beach house bar and grill or traditional Australian community clubs like RSLs and Leagues clubs. While multinational steak chains spent millions trying to fix rubbery ribeyes on recorded earnings calls, non-profit community clubs across New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria were quietly leveraging collective buying power to secure top-tier Australian MSA-certified beef. An MSA grade guarantees stringent standards on marbling, maturity and pH levels, ensuring natural tenderness without chemical tenderizers. At a solid local RSL or beach house venue, a $25 rump steak comes properly aged, flame-grilled to order, and served alongside thick-cut chips and fresh garden salad. The sauces are cooked down from real stock bases rather than reconstituted from industrial powder bladders. You get generous portions, honest pricing, and a lively atmosphere where profits are reinvested back into community facilities rather than funneled into offshore private equity funds. For coffee and breakfast lovers tired of paying $9 for an automated drive-thru syrup slurry served by overworked staff, single-origin local independent cafes and roasters like Campos Coffee, Toby's Estate, and St. Ali offer a night-and-day upgrade. Available at thousands of neighbourhood cafes across Australia or as fresh beans at Woolworths and Coles, these roasting houses source ethically certified Arabica beans directly from micro-lot farmers. Their milk is sourced from local family dairy co-ops, steamed by trained baristas who know how to stretch milk properly without scalding the natural sugars. The result is a smooth, rich espresso with complex cocoa and caramel notes, entirely free from the burnt, bitter astringency hidden under pumps of artificial vanilla syrup. A flat white might cost $5 to $6, but every cent goes toward fair trade farmer compensation, local dairy producers, and genuine barista craftsmanship. Whether you want a quick lunch, a healthy dinner bowl, or a real weekend steak, these Australian options prove that real quality still exists when you stop funding corporate greed. To make sure you never get taken for a ride again, here are 5 non-negotiable rules for buying fast food or grocery meals in Australia. Rule 1. Always check the unit price per 100 grams on supermarket shelf tags at Coles, Woolworths or Aldi. Marketing claims like family value pack or lowered price often hide shrinkflation, where total weight dropped by 15% while the sticker price stayed identical. Rule 2. Watch out for vague ingredient phrases like vegetable oil blend or reconstituted meat product. If a brand refuses to specify canola, olive or sunflower oil, they are using cheap palm oil or hydrogenated fats. Rule 3. Beware of flashy app-exclusive discounts that require signing up for automated subscriptions or loyalty points. Food giants use those algorithms to test personalized dynamic pricing, quietly raising base menu costs while offering fake coupons to keep you hooked. Rule 4. When buying fresh produce or meat, bypass pre-packaged vacuum-sealed trays and shop the outer perimeter or hit local markets like Harris Farm or IGA. Pre-cut, pre-marinated meats often use sodium phosphate injections to artificially pump up water weight by 20%. Rule 5. If a fast food chain launches a massive, low-cost viral promotion, ask yourself who is absorbing the loss. If franchisees or line staff take the hit, food quality and store safety will inevitably crash within months. The fundamental truth behind every single corporate collapse and fake value comeback on this list is simple. Fast food executives did not wake up and suddenly decide to care about your wallet. They were forced into it because Australian consumers finally hit their absolute limit, stopped tapping their cards at overpriced drive-thrus, and left dining rooms sitting completely empty. Corporate greed thrives on customer convenience, passive habits, and marketing blind trust. The moment you start inspecting unit prices, checking kitchen standards, and walking away when quality drops, you strip these multi-billion-dollar conglomerates of their power and force the market to deliver real value. Thanks for watching in plain bite. If this investigative breakdown gave you the ammo you need to protect your hard-earned cash, please hit that subscribe button and share this video with a mate, because you definitely know someone still spending $30 on disappointing drive-thru meals every single week. We want to hear from you in the comments below. Which of these 10 chains has let you down the most over the past year? And which ones have you officially blacklisted? Check out the next investigation popping up on your screen right now. Keep questioning the receipts and stop